forget the needy. The hope of the afflicted will never perish. Arise, Lord, do not let mortals triumph. Let the nations be judged in your presence. Psalm 9:18 through 19. Hey everyone, this is Amanda from Devotion in Action, and here we are at day 2 of the Hope Challenge. We're in this psalm right here, and I've created this principle: God will never forget me. And I just really love that thought. I'm going to put some gesso on my page to prep it like I did yesterday, and you'll notice that I'm supposed to be coming out from the binding, and I get a little away from myself and kind of pull down on it, and see how that pulls against that spiral binding. That's what you've got to kind of avoid. See, I'm having to hold the page now. If you always come from the binding to the outside of the page with your gesso, then you won't have a problem with that. It works out beautifully, but I was, not really paying attention to what I was doing. Then you use the heat gun, and you don't have to. You can just let it dry, but I'm impatient. So just kind of hit that with some heat and get it dry so that I can watercolor on this page. Now, like I said, I wasn't paying super amount of attention. It's a little haphazard with the gesso, and you'll see on here there's one spot on the hand where the watercolor reacts differently to the page than it does on the other places of the gesso, and so you'll really get to see a good picture where I missed a spot on this page with gesso. I'm just putting down some washi tape to hold that page in place so that it doesn't wiggle around on me, and it kind of helps keep it flat because the edges were kind of curling up a little bit from the gesso. That just happens until it's closed in your Bible for a while. Then the page flattens out. I'm going to use, you can kind of see that round, kind of fluffy watercolor brush. I want to cover a lot of space, and I'm taking this real light yellowish, color as a base for my skin tone. It's not going to be the end of the skin tone, but looky there. See, I have this daughter who likes to use my watercolors, and she didn't wash the brush out completely. Oops. She's really good most of the time about that, but not this time, evidently. And it happens to be right there that I missed the gesso spot too. So you can see how that's kind of a darker mark right there. The reason that watercolor didn't come right up off of that gesso when I got to it so quickly was because there's no gesso there. I didn't get a thick enough layer of gesso on the page right there. And like I said, that the Illustrating Bible has more fibrous pages than, it doesn't have that slick coating that a lot of thin normal Bible pages have, or journaling Bible pages have. And so the watercolors kind of suck up into it really quickly and dry quickly. They don't stay wet on it. So when I set that paintbrush down on there with that darker color that was inside the paintbrush and reactivated with the water, it just kind of stuck. And I was sitting there, I was painting, and I was thinking, oh no, how am I going to fix this? I have no idea. It ended up not being all that bad. So when you do something like that, don't stress out too much, because watercolors, like I said, are very forgiving. If you just keep messing around with them, just keep playing. Right there, what I was doing is, if you look at your own fingernails, there's kind of a pinkish part where the nail grows over the skin. So I added a little bit of just very light, really watered down red there, and then kind of blotted it away with a paper towel to create that effect of a white tip on the nail and kind of a pink undertone underneath the nail. So just kind of noticing and seeing things the way that they are. Instead of thinking of a nail as all one color, you can actually start to see the things around us. They don't always look like we know them to look. I don't know. I know that sounds kind of funny, but sometimes we don't look at things the way that they truly are, in a range of colors rather than as a flat single color. For instance, if you look at anything, maybe an item sitting on your desk or your table, or in your bedroom, on your bathroom counter, the light hits it in different ways. So in the shadow parts, it might be more purplish, even though it's a white object. And so I'm not great at this yet, but I'm trying to learn to see things a little bit more the way they truly are. And those fingernails are a good kind of first step to that. You can look at your hand and see the places that tend to be darker, see the places that tend to be lighter. And as you watercolor in this hand right here, and I'm making that ribbon a red color so it kind of stands out. So this reminds me, like, tie a string around your finger so that you won't forget, kind of thing. I know God doesn't have to do that, but it's just kind of the symbol that I think of when I think about not forgetting something. So that's why I chose this one here. I don't know if that's a custom in other countries. You'll have to comment and let me know if that's like a saying or something that people used to do. But it was a common thing in the United States and a long time ago. And so it's kind of become this I don't know, saying that you tie a string around your finger so you don't forget. So there you go. It's going to be a red string so it really stands out on this page. And obviously I'm not using that big fluffy brush anymore for this. I'm using a much finer brush to kind of go in those tiny little spaces on that ribbon. And I really loved the idea that God does not forget us. We are always in his mind. When it feels like in our lives, you know, we're thinking, where are you, God? Why is this going on? Why am I going through this? He has not forgotten us. And sometimes we have forgotten to go to him and ask for his help. And so today's devotional is all about asking God to arise in our situation, in our families, in our nation, in whatever's going on in our lives, really coming to him in prayer and asking him to arise in that, to take action and to act on our behalf, because sometimes God is just waiting for us to come to him and say, please, God, intervene on my behalf. We need you, Lord. And we try to handle it on our own so much of the time that I think it's a good lesson to learn that we need to be coming to him consistently and pleading with him. He doesn't forget us. He's always there for us. He is there. And sometimes we've been pleading for him to arise, and it's not his timing yet. And we don't understand. And some of us, like, we never understand until we get to heaven what's going on there. I mean, we don't know why he waits sometimes, but sometimes we can see later down the road how God was changing and transforming us, how God was doing something bigger than we could ever have dreamed of in that moment where we were waiting for him to arise. But today, I just want to focus on the idea of we need to remember to ask him to ask him to arise, to really come to him in prayer. And the Bible study and Bible art journaling is a wonderful tool. It's a creative tool to get us thinking about the word. But if we don't apply that in our lives, then it's not really effective in its whole goal. If we don't apply the word to what we're doing in our everyday lives. So you see how I've kind of added a darker brown to that hand. Now it seemed like a really dark brown on my palette, but once I got it on there, it wasn't a really dark brown on that hand. So that's something to learn about watercolors. A lot of times you'll be working with a color and it'll seem very dark, very vibrant, but if it's got a lot of water in it, it's not going to be as dark or vibrant as it seems at first. And I just decided that the surrounding of this was just too plain for me. It was too white, too plain. So I wanted to add kind of a background around this, kind of ground it and have something as a foundation of the page. So I'm adding in this blue, and I always kind of try. And we'll see if I accomplish it or not. I always kind of try to vary the lights and darks of when I'm putting down kind of a wash of color, plopping down color on the page, as Allie Brown says. I don't know if any of you have ever followed her on YouTube, but she's a watercolor artist who's pretty funny, and she just plops the watercolor down on there. And so I wanted to get some of that watercolor plopped down, and you'll see I try to make it a little darker in some spots and lighter in some spots. It really gives some interest to the page. Watercolor, you don't really most of the time don't want it to be super even. And now I'm kind of mixing some red and some blue. I'm trying to get a purple because I always think of God as purple, royal color, kingly, and in charge, and he has power, and yet he never forgets me, and I can ask him to arise on my behalf. It's like a long time ago, there were kings and in most countries, and if a person needed something, they could go to the person in power and ask for them to act on their behalf if they're being attacked by raiders or whatever. I don't know. My husband and I have been watching some historical fiction on TV, and so we were seeing some of these old-timey people, and they would come to the people in charge, to the lords and of the manors and the king, and ask them to arise on their behalf to do something because they were suffering. And so I think of God as this royal kingly person, royal kingly God with the power to intercede on my behalf. And so I like to kind of get a purple in there, and gonna hit this. It was getting a lot of water on the page, so I'm gonna hit this and dry it out a little bit. And that's one thing with the Bible pages, because the watercolors kind of pool. If you put on thin layers that you dry in between, I think it's a little bit easier to work with. It doesn't kind of get away from you as much if you do thinner layers and dry, and then do more layers on the page after that. But I really kind of like this after I got it dried, so it was kind of nice. So I'm grabbing my pen there, and I'm just going to kind of mark the scripture in Psalms that I read to you at the beginning. With just some little brackets and write a prayer there. And you have lots of space on this page if you have an illustrating Bible, but you may not. You could write inside the hand. You could write right by the me if you're in a traditional journaling Bible. You can totally do this page absolutely completely different than I did. You could have a little Post-it note on there instead of a hand with a finger and a ribbon, and say you're gonna stick a Post-it note on it, so that you don't forget, kind of thing. So I'm just writing there, arise, O God, in the middle of my circumstances. I know that you will not forget me. And then I'm gonna mark this with the hashtag DIA Hope Challenge and the date. And that's basically my page for today. And I think that this is such a good reminder that God doesn't forget us, and we're not done yet. That's one of the things I love about watercolors. It always reminds me that when it doesn't look good in the middle, it's not done. It just needs more work. And so I think that that's a really, really good reminder. I hope you have a great day today. I'd love to see your thoughts and your pictures of your journaling entries on the Facebook page and on Instagram. Just add that in your description of it. Just add a hashtag, that's the # DIA Hope Challenge. And that way I can search that hashtag and it will pull up everything that's been posted about that. And I'd love to see it and comment. Don't forget to share some love with the other people in the group who are also posting and telling their thoughts. Let's get some interaction going. Have a great day.